Hello everybody, this is Little in Hawaii. From time to time I show you in a video how I make velvet flowers, and I know I've shown all kinds in the past and I honestly can't remember and don't have the patience to go back and look at old videos. However, I thought I'd show you another version of some of my velvet flowers, different ones today. So this version is going to use a template. And I thought I'd show you how I make the templates. I make them like this. I cut them out of cardboard. I just draw them. I just take a pencil, and I draw on cardboard a shape. And generally, I draw, this is bigger than I normally would like. I draw 5-pointed or 5-petal flower. Sometimes I do 6 petals. I've done 4 petals. I'm not so wild about the 4-petal flowers. Don't think they look as good. However, I'll try anything, of course. And then I tried to do one that's a plumeria, which is a flower here in the islands. And this is what I came up with for that. And I've got a little leaf by it. And that one, I drew the flower with 5 points on it. This is what I came up with for that. My favorite though is a bigger one, and it's a 5-petal. Let me see. In fact, I've got 2 favorites. I like this one because I like the shape of the petals. I've sort of cut a little dimple there, and that's a 5-petal. And then the other one I really like a lot is this one, but I think I've got a better version of that. Sometimes they get bent and I have to replace them. And let's see if I can find one. This is probably a good one to show you. So those are probably my favorite templates. I do make other kinds, but for today's little class, as it were, or lesson, I'm just going to use 2. I'm not going to use that, the plumeria. Not going to use that. That's too big, but I just cut it so you can see better. And I'll just show you how I use either of these. Now, I've got a few tricks that I've developed since I last showed a class, but I'm going to keep it simple. So the first thing you need to do is get some velvet, and for this demo I'm going to use this pale pink velvet because I'll show you what I can do to color it a little bit. And it's always advisable on velvet to iron some interfacing on the back of it, and it can be woven or non-woven. This one's a woven. I think it's a knit actually. It's not the best, but it's lightweight and it's white, because sometimes I have to put something on to match the color of the velvet and it might be black. And this one is also a woven, but it's different. It's not a knit. So I keep all my velvet bits that I've already ironed the backings on. I keep them all in there. I keep my templates in here. So I've got it all ready, and I've got a bag of leaves if I want to. I've got some green velvet to make the leaves, and I've painted the back of this one to make it nice. Then I keep a bag of leaves, so I've got leaves ready to go. And I make those ahead of time. I just keep them in the bag. So hopefully I'm a little bit efficient. So I'll get cracking and show you what I'm going to show you. So first of all, you draw the design on the back of the velvet, and I'm going to go with this one. See, I try and be economical with the velvet if I can. Now sometimes things won't show up on the back, I mean pens and such, so you have to really look around. It's best not to use a ballpoint pen. This is a lead pencil, because you may want to spray it later. You can steam these flowers later and shape them a little bit, so that would be how that's done. I want to make sure I'm in there. Now I usually use big scissors to cut it out. If I'm doing a really small flower, I may use little scissors, but you know, since I have that hand surgery still not functioning too well, and I find that I can use these easier. So I'm just going to cut out the shape, and it's this one is 6 petals. It's one of my favorite ones. And I've got several methods of sewing the design to shape the petals. I'm going to show you 2 different ways, let's say. I've got a lot of different ways, but I'm just going to show you 2 that are the most useful. Okay, so that's that. Now turn it over to the right side, and I do have a threaded needle. Got threaded needle, doubled, and it has a knot in the end. Now there are 2 ways you can start that, depending on which way you want the petals to curl. I like to start most times in the back, so right back center, and I put the needle in the back center, and I cross it over that dip in the petal, and then I'm going to, they're fiddly, I'm going to pull it kind of tight. Then I go to the next one, wrap it around, and you can adjust these later, these petals. So I've pulled it tight, so it's like that. Doesn't look like much, does it? Then I'm going to go this way, pull it tight. I usually count so I don't go over the same thing twice. But since I'm talking, I'm not counting really. I know I've got 2 more to do. I try and do everything at once if I can. Like bead the center, or put, if it's a thread center, a French knot or something, I try and get that all ready and do that at once. To just do 1 more, but I wanted to make sure. I see one's not quite pulled tight. You can go over it a second time if you find that there's something lacking. Let me see, I think this one here I need to go over again. Somehow, that might have been the first one. I don't think I pulled it tight enough, the first one. Okay, so there's my basic shape. Now, if you start from the back like I started, well then the petals will curve to the back. So you see they're curving to the back. I'm just going to fasten that off on the back once and then put a bead in the center to show you how I do that. If you start in the front, the petals will curl towards the front, for your information. That's okay. As I say, they're fiddly, and especially with my hands being so still, a little fiddly. Okay, so now I'm going to put a bead in the center. I'm not going to be special about the bead. I've got a little bag of green beads here. They're seed beads. And I've got this on parchment paper, by the way, and you'll see why in a minute. Okay, so there's the center. I'm just going to put 1 bead in the center. Makes it kind of like a blossom. And now I'm going to fasten that in the back. It's not finished yet though. Got another couple of little things I do to it to give it a little more oomph. So the first thing is I'm going to cut that off, put the pencil back. I'm going to get this thread ready for the next one, so I put a knot in the end. It was nice and long, so I'll put that over there. So here's my blossom. The next thing I do, I have 2 colors of alcohol ink. These are the only colors I have. One's a green and one is a, I don't know what it is, it's sort of a reddish orange. I can't see a name. So I like to put a little bit of alcohol ink in the center just to give them a little dimension, and because this has a little green bead, got to be very careful. And the reason I'm doing it on this paper is I've already found out, like here, I don't know if you can see, but I've dropped some in the wrong place. So now just barely tip there, just barely tip, just barely tip. There's one more needs. Okay, I also inked myself. Make sure that I put the top on because I'm likely to spill it. So now I've got a green center, but it might be nice to have a little additional color too. So I'm going to put this orangey red one. I wish I could find out what the color was. I'm sorry, I can't see what the color is. But I'll just put a little dab of that as well. Doesn't matter if it goes over the ink, I mean the green ink. So I'll put just a little bit here and there. A little bit there. There we go. So that gives it a nice little look. Like a real flower is darker in the center and it gets paler towards the end. Then another thing I like to do sometimes is put a little edging on the petals, and I was trying to figure out how to do that, and I found one of these things. These, don't know what these are called, but anyway, I'm sure you know what they are. Some sort of a dabba thing, and I don't know what color's on that, but doesn't matter. Whatever the color is, I go around and I sort of put a little edge on this. Just a little smidgen. I think I need some ink on this actually. Yeah, let me put a little bit of ink on it. Let's see. I've got this, it's called pumice stone. I'll just see what happens. No harm done if it doesn't work, by the way. Okay, so I dabbed a little of that pumice stone stuff on there. I'm not good with material names, I'm sorry. Now I'm just going to... I pushed the petal against my finger. Oh! I sure did, didn't I? So I've got a little bit of colour on the edge. Just a little bit. And then this last one. And of course it'll run a little more, it bleeds. Okay, so there we have it. So that's that one done. Put that away. So let me show you so this is the one I've just made. And it looks like a blossom just coming to bloom on a peach tree or something. Here's one I made using the other template I showed you. This one's using this template. Here's one that I used this template and I made some lines for little whiskery things, little stamen I guess you'd say. Basically the same colors though, and I used a Pigma pen for those lines. Here's another one, and this one I had on this thing I must have had some, oh I don't know, orangey yellow, and so that's how that came out. These I did last night. I will try and fix that. Okay, I'm just going to show you this last one, and on a darker fabric or darker velvet. Let me see here. So I've got this piece of velvet and I've put black, it's a knit I should say. Now because it's black I can't use a pencil because it's not going to show, is it? So I put that there, and I have a chalk pencil from a set I had years ago, and I feel like that might work. The birds are out today, having fun. They're having a convention, a bird convention. I live near a park, and there are lots and lots of trees where I live, all kinds of trees. A lot of them are in bloom right now. We have a shower tree. It's just gorgeous. And the birds love the trees, of course. And I saw 2 parrots fly over too. They didn't stop though. I said, nope, we'll keep moving. Okay, so this is the other one. This is the little different shaped petal on this one. It's kind of like a little dip in the... You can shape them any way you like. You could even use pinking shears. It's just a question of experimenting, really. And that you haven't lost any. If they don't work out, well, just make another one. The only thing is they're a bit fiddly. I usually keep a bag of, I won't show you, but I've got a whole bag, actually it's a hat box, full of the flowers I've made. I won't show you that just now, but, you know, it pays to sort of keep a supply on hand, so I may have been off camera there, was I? I have to kind of pull it closer so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, I'll just get rid of the debris there. Now this one, because it's dark, I'm going to use a black thread, and I've got a black thread, threaded double with a knot on the end. And before, on the other one that I showed you, I came up from underneath to the center, and so I showed you that things curled backwards. Let me see, which was the one I just did? This was the one I just did. And if you notice, the petals curl backwards. So it's a different look. Now I'm going to do the other way. I'm going to go from the top down and pull the thread around this way. And when I do that, it'll cup them, it brings them forward. You see, it brings them forward. Kind of crafty. I figured this out myself. But my aunt was a costume designer, one of my aunts years ago, and she had the most innovative ways of making embellishments, because this was years ago when you couldn't buy anything really, you had to make everything. And she used to use Fimo, stuff that she made with bread dough. She used to use velvet flowers, all kinds of stitchery, collage. She used to, because we had to use up all of our fabrics. There were no fabric shops, so you'd cut up garments and make them into something else. And they were gorgeous. They were just gorgeous. Plus she worked as a costume designer for plays. Okay, so I've pulled those all. Let me make sure I went round them all. Yep, I went round them all, and I've got to just fasten it on the back once, like this. Just to make sure that it's not going to loosen up. And if you see, these are cupping more forward, and you probably notice that some of them look a little funky on the edges. Well, you can go ahead, you know, and straighten it up, snip off a bit if you want. No harm done. Want a bit more of a dip, you can just go like that, make it a little more pronounced. On this one, it probably needs a little more pronounced. Now I've got the thread on the back, so in order to put the bead in the center, I'm going to come this way. And I think for this one I'm going to put 3 beads. So I'm going to put 3 beads up. I normally just put 1, but because it's so dark, I think I need to put 3. And I usually put them all on together. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I've got 3 beads there, and I just poke a hole back through and pull them, and there you are. Looks kind of like a pansy, actually, doesn't it? And these, you can decorate the edges of the petals with some gold. glitter is nice. Because it's dark, you can't use the alcohol ink, it doesn't show up. And let me see if I can find a leaf that would look nice on this one. So I've fastened off the beads at the back. Put that out of the way. Okay, so there's that one. And I'm going to look for a leaf. Let me see what I have. I don't want to make a leaf particularly right now, since I've got a lot of leaves. I've got, you know, as I said, I have this green, and I painted the back of it with some paints. I've also got this leaf. Oh, it looks a little demented. Oh, it might look alright. Oh yeah, that doesn't look too bad. So that might be a nice leaf for that. But I could show you real quick, I've done this before, but I'll show you real quick how a quick way to make a leaf. You make like an almond shape. Almond shape, like that. And then make snippets, I call them. Snippets down the sides of it like this. This is from the pointed, this is the top of the leaf. So the snippets go this way. And then the other side I do the snippets. It's easier for me if I just turn it over and do it from the back on that. Okay, so I've got the snippets done. And then you take a little bit off each snippet edge. Just a little bit off like that. A little bit off. My hands are not working too well, I'm sorry. They're completely numb. Okay, so that's that. So that gives you that serrated edge, and I'll just turn it over. I think it's easier for me to do it this way on the other side. And a little bit off this one. Let's see, I'll do that, I think, that way. So there I've made little snippets along there. And often what I'll do is I'll fold this in the center and just make a groove if it'll stay. Otherwise I run a line with the sewing machine down there just to make the center vein. And that looks nice. That particular leaf looks good. Let me see. This is the one I just made. So let me see. That would look pretty there. So that's all I'm going to show you today, because I know it's a lot to sort of take in a way, because there are lots of steps to it. But anyway, this is the one I just made with the ink on it, the alcohol inks and so forth. And then the other one I just made was this one with the darker velvet, and I've got two leaves that I've already made out of silk, and they look good behind that. So those are the two from today. And then this is one ready to go to make another one. I'm not going to take time to do that. So let me put them all together, and maybe I can put them all like that. I'll put them sort of, make a little collection, and I'll pick the camera up and show you how that looks. So those are some we've made today on camera. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.